Some people seem to live out of their suitcases, hopping from one breathtaking destination to another. They're the type who have passports so full of stamps they almost need a second one. You've probably seen them on Instagram, cruising the crystal clear waters of the Maldives one day and exploring the vibrant streets of Tokyo the next. However, no matter how seasoned a traveler they are, I can almost guarantee they've never set foot in this place. It's called Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island in the world. And let me tell you, getting there is no walk in the park. In fact, it's more like an expedition. Now that I have your attention, stay with me, because we're about to dive into what makes this island so fascinating. From its location in the middle of nowhere to its quirky way of life, you're in for a journey like no other. First off, let's pinpoint this elusive destination. What and where is Tristan da Cunha? Tristan da Cunha is a small volcanic island smack dab in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. It's about halfway between South Africa and South America, literally in the middle of nowhere. It's part of a British overseas territory that includes other islands like St. Helena and Ascension Island. However, Tristan da Cunha stands out for one big reason. It's officially the most isolated inhabited community in the world. How isolated, you ask? The nearest landmass, South Africa, is over 1,500 miles away. For context, that's like traveling from New York to Dallas, Texas, just to pick up your groceries. The next closest neighbor, South America, nearly 2,000 miles in the opposite direction. If you're thinking, that sounds like a cool place to visit, then keep watching. When going to this island, you can't just hop on a plane and land on Tristan da Cunha. There's no airport. The only way to get there is by boat, and not just any boat. A special supply or research vessel making the journey from Cape Town, which takes at least 6 days, depending on the weather. And speaking of the weather, the South Atlantic Ocean isn't exactly known for calm seas. So, if you're prone to seasickness, this might not be the vacation spot for you. But hey, if you make it there, you'll have some serious bragging rights. So, what is it like to live in such a remote place? Well, for starters, the population is tiny. The entire population of Tristan da Cunha is just about 250 people, who all carry British Overseas Territories citizenship. The residents all live in a single settlement called Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, which sounds grand, but is really just a small village surrounded by endless ocean. The community is tight-knit, and almost everyone is related in some way.
And what's it like living in such a small community?
Well, it's a nice life here. Everyone on the island, we call them brothers and sisters. We act as a big family. We share and share alike. If they kill a oxen, they always slice it and give everybody some piece of beef or mutton or fish, anything. And if anyone get in trouble, say a roof go off a house, or they're there to help you.
The original settlers were a mix of sailors and farmers, and their descendants have kept the island alive for centuries. But with such a small population, there's one big challenge they face. But more on that later. Living on Tristan da Cunha is like stepping into a different world. There are no big cities, no malls, and no fast food chains. Instead, the residents rely on fishing, farming, and crafting to sustain themselves. Potatoes are the main crop, earning the island its quirky nickname, the Potato Patches. Electricity is limited, and most of the supplies come from the outside world on the occasional supply ship. Can you imagine waiting months for a shipment of essentials? That's the reality here. And what about emergencies? With no hospital nearby, serious medical cases are evacuated to South Africa, a trip that could take over a week. In the past, expectant mothers had to endure the long trip to Cape Town to give birth, as there were no facilities on the island. However, since the opening of the Kamogli Healthcare Center in 2017, this has changed. The center now provides essential medical care, including maternity services, allowing women to give birth on the island. The center is a lifeline equipped to handle minor injuries and common illnesses. But its limitations mean the community still depends on evacuation for life-threatening situations. As for tourism, Tristan da Cunha has a very small tourism industry. For those lucky enough to make the journey, it's important to understand that Tristan da Cunha doesn't cater to the typical tourist experience. There's no hotel to check into. Instead, Visitors can stay in a great house or even a private home, where they can experience the island life firsthand. You'll need to bring your own food and supplies, as everything must be carefully planned ahead of time. Also, all visitors must have a confirmed and fully paid return ticket and health insurance, because in case of an emergency, getting off the island might involve a medical evacuation. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: inbreeding. With such a small and isolated population, only about 250 people, the gene pool is extremely limited. To give you some perspective, there are only around 80 families living on the island. Over the years, this limited genetic diversity has led to some serious health challenges, including hereditary conditions that have affected the islanders. While the community is aware of this issue, they've tried to solve it by encouraging marriages with outsiders, though this is easier said than done given the island's isolation. Compounding the issue, many of the younger islanders, aware of the limited opportunities on Tristan da Cunha, decide to leave for better education and career prospects. This raises a serious concern. Can Tristan da Cunha survive in the long run? With fewer young people staying behind and no fresh bloodlines coming in regularly, there's a real concern that this unique community might not be able to sustain itself for much longer. As part of the British Overseas Territories, Tristan da Cunha does receive some support from the UK, especially in areas like governance and education. However, life on the island is far from what you'd find in modern Britain. There are no pubs on every corner, and don't even think about enjoying a fancy afternoon tea. Instead, the islanders have carved out their own culture, a mix of old-world traditions and practical survival skills. And despite the challenges, they continue to find ways to make it work in one of the most remote places on Earth. Now, let's talk about secrets of the island. While life on Tristan da Cunha might sound simple, there are plenty of intriguing stories hidden within its shores. For instance, did you know the island was evacuated in 1961 due to a volcanic eruption? The entire population relocated to England for 2 years before deciding to return to their isolated home. Talk about loyalty.
Do you also remember the volcano erupting?
Yes, it erupts in October.
And what was it like during the eruption?
And you felt like it's wanting a big shake like that, so anyway. And it shakes so much the volcano start to open.
And so what also made you want to come back to Tristan?
Well, Tristan's so special to me. It's so calm, it's peaceful, it's so quiet.
And here's another fun fact. The island is home to rare species of birds and marine life you won't find anywhere else. Conservationists love Tristan da Cunha for its pristine environment, making it a hotspot for scientific research. With all of this said, is Tristan da Cunha worth visiting? If you're an adventurer who craves off-the-beaten-path experiences, Tristan da Cunha might just be your ultimate destination. But be prepared for a journey unlike any other, and a way of life that will make you appreciate the modern conveniences we often take for granted. And there you have it, the incredible story of Tristan da Cunha, the most isolated community in the world. Now, what did you think? Could you handle life on Tristan da Cunha? Would you ever consider visiting this remote paradise? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video interesting, make sure to check out our next one, because you won't want to miss what we uncover next.